The red fox, or Vulpes vulpes. It was first introduced into Australia in the mid-1800s. They were originally brought here for recreational hunting, but then soon spread uncontrollably throughout the country with the exception of the far north. Foxes are primarily a carnivorous, opportunistic species which play a significant role in wiping out many of our native mammals, birds and rodents. Even though they are dominant in hunting within the wild, they are also an effective scavenger, which consume rubbish, fruits and insects when they are an available resource. In many areas, foxes are not considered pests, but considered to be pets, and are conserved and nurtured by many people. But by having them as pets can cause many environmental issues within suburbia. If a fox happens to escape its home, they then become a threat to all other wild fauna and flora within that area. They can breed rapidly, and even though they aren't naturally a threat to humans, they can transfer disease into humans or other wildlife. The conventional methods of shooting, poisoning and fencing are helping control the fox, but we are looking for more promising methods for reducing its impact on the native fauna and flora. Red foxes have become an invasive species in Australia as they cause environmental, agricultural, economic and social damage. Foxes prey on many of Australia's wildlife species, including many native animals, and contribute to extinction pressures. As foxes prey on a number of species, they also bring competition to other predators for food and shelter, therefore disrupt the food chain and ecosystem. They are scavengers, but also hunt and generally prey at night to minimise detection from humans and animals. Foxes are very opportunistic hunters. They prey on what is most abundant and accessible, and this may often affect agriculture. Foxes pose a threat to agriculture as they prey on a variety of livestock, including lambs, calves, and poultry. Overall, they get a third of their diet from livestock, a third from other pests like rabbits and mice, and another third from native wildlife. Foxes are very good at adapting to different environments, and therefore they can be found in most places in Australia, including urban, suburban, agricultural, and natural environments. They each have different impacts in each location, however they are temperature restricted, and therefore don't live in northern Australia. In urban environments, foxes can also affect society and health. Foxes can prey on and disturb small household pets, turn rubbish bins upside down to find food, dig holes in yards, and have the potential to carry diseases to both humans and animals. With negative impacts on agriculture, environment, and society, red foxes also affect the economy, as all the damage that they cause and continue to cause needs to be repaired with all foxes all over Australia. Costs have been estimated to be around $227.5 million. They are a successful species as they are opportunistic omnivores, so they have unlimited amounts of prey, are adaptable, have little competition, and not many predators. In order to maintain the species to a minimum, control methods have been introduced to reduce red fox numbers. Previous conventional techniques such as shooting and trapping have been shown to be less effective at a landscape scale. Trapping of red foxes is governed by animal welfare legislation in each territory and state. The original steel jaw leg hold traps, which are toothed and without padding, are now prohibited for trapping wild animals across Australia. These traps were found to be highly unsafe and incredibly inhumane for all animals. These traps were catching not only foxes, but hunting dogs, wild cats, other native Australian fauna, and sometimes even humans would accidentally step on them. Although they are now banned, some states now allow modified padded, rubber, soft jaw leg hold traps to be used. If traps aren't used on land, landowners are permitted to hunt and kill foxes. However, this method has been proven ineffective in reducing the population of red foxes. Current control methods, such as poisoning and fencing, are resulting in mostly successful outcomes. 1080 baiting is an effective control method as the fox is attracted to a toxin within the bait, and they only need to ingest a small amount of the bait for it to take effect. The native Australian animals are less susceptible to this, as the same toxin used in the bait is found in Australian plants. Therefore, the native animals have developed a tolerance to this toxin and would have to ingest a large amount of the bait for it to affect them. This method can provide good results, allowing populations of some native mammals to begin to recover and return to former habitats. Fencing is another option, as they can exclude foxes from high-value areas such as nature reserves. Another current option is livestock guardian dogs, such as Marima sheepdogs, as they are trained to protect livestock and from many species of predators. Today, scientists are still investigating methods to improve the conventional fox control programs in order to make them more effective and humane. Out of the variety of control methods that have been implemented to different degrees within Australia include poison baiting, shooting, guard animals, den destruction, den fumigation, trapping, and exclusion fencing. Only a select few are both efficient and effective. Between 2003 and 2007, over 3/4 of the control efforts consisted of sodium fluoracetate, the 1080 poison baiting. Presently, the 1080 baiting is widely considered the most popular and effective, with population reductions of greater than 90% recorded from some baiting campaigns. The red fox is a predator to multiple animals and in many different ecological regions. The report by New South Wales Department of Primary Industries titled Improvising Fox Management Strategies in Australia, released in 2007, states aerial baiting would be the most cost-effective strategy over large areas, whereas the use of guard dogs would be suitable only on a property basis. The one-size-fits-all saying simply cannot apply here, at least to breadth of red fox control. Several control techniques must be utilised, not just one. Current broad, effective and efficient control technique efforts, such as poison baiting, must be sustained and never cease, but ultimately experimented upon, and newer techniques further trialled and studied. The previously mentioned report states more than $227 million in 2004 alone was caused by the destruction of the red fox on Australian agriculture and environment. Further and increased destruction will continue to happen if we do stop our present control techniques, primarily baiting, and if we do not test and implement new techniques. Experimenting and tinkering with present baiting might prove beneficial. There has already been several to numerous amounts of meat types used, but how about poison? 1080 and strychnine are only two that have been attempted. Artificial attractants is a possible alternative, such as the SFE, then synthetic fermented egg. SFE studies in Australia are lacking with focus on feral cats and dingoes. More importantly, techniques that could tackle the situation head-on, such as chemical fertility control, need to be tried and tested in Australia. It very well could attack the issue at the root cause. The red fox introduces a large array of issues whilst it inhabits Australia's urban and non-urban areas. Not only has the introduction of the species caused immense damage to Australia's native fauna, ecosystems and agricultural industry, the great cost of the control efforts and damages caused by the invasive species has risen into the hundreds of millions of dollars. Despite the amount of funding poured into the conservation issue, there has been no overall impact on the fox's population numbers. The great adaptability of the fox has allowed it to distribute throughout the majority of the Australian landscape, which assists the species to not only maintain their population numbers, but due to recent surveys shows a worrying trend in the annual increase of the red fox and its distribution, despite control methods. The only non-effective area of the country remains to be the far north, where the climate is considerably warmer, which currently exceeds the fox's climate requirements. However, it is only a matter of time before the highly adaptive species starts to distribute further north. Due to this skill, it essentially gives the species the ability to destroy almost all Australian native species, regardless of where they live and where they sit on the trophic level. The 1080 baiting still remains the most effective means of culling alongside the assistance of commercial and recreational hunting. However, with the issue becoming more prominent, a more effective means is required to firstly, control the current population, and secondly, once the population has been relatively controlled, a means of reducing the species must be introduced. The possible introduction of aerial baiting has been discussed as to whether it is a more effective and efficient means of controlling the issue. The use of aerial baiting has the potential to be a more effective method, as it has the potential to cover a greater area than that of any other method that is currently imposed. However, the potential for bycatch, or in simpler terms, the possibility of other species consuming the mass-distributed bait, remains a dominating concern. Without the assessment of current methods and the testing of more effective and efficient new techniques, the Australian native species, ecosystems, agricultural industry and taxpayers' future is unknown.
What does the fox say? say.